Welcome to the Verdict Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verda, and today we got Jayden Daniels LSU Pro Day highlights. Everybody's been waiting to see how Jayden Daniels will perform, whether it be the Combine, whether it be the Pro Day. Of course, he opted out of the NFL Combine, so we were left with one day and one day only to determine where the Heisman quarterback should be taken in this year's NFL draft. A lot of people are wondering, is he the best quarterback in the draft? A lot of people are also wondering, should he be taken with the second pick? There's a multitude of opportunities for Jayden Daniels coming up this month. He could go to the Commanders. He can go to the Patriots. He could also go to an oddball team like maybe the Giants, maybe, somebody that trades up. A lot of chaos can happen at this point, at this point in the year, especially in the offseason when there's a lot of teams with a lot of uncertainties. You got the free agency period opening up. And you even have teams that, have failed contract extension talks with quarterbacks, the Cowboys. So, there's a lot of things in the air. I'm not saying you'd see Dallas trade up, but all I'm saying is you never know at the end of the day who will be on the clock when it comes down to a potential Jayden Daniels draft pick. Now, odds are he'll go to the Commanders. Pretty good situation. They just got Austin Eckler. Of course, they got scary Terry McLaurin. It'll be one of the better spots for Jayden Daniels. When you're comparing it to Chicago, even though they are trying to soup some things up before Caleb Williams arrives potentially, they didn't get Keenan Allen. I just think looking at the Commanders' situation and where they are, especially their division, they're going to have some moments where Jayden's going to get sharpened. I'll say that. I don't know if he's going to get thrown into the fire in year one, but if you're playing potential Cowboys, potential Eagles, and of course the Giants in your division, you get two matchups this season with all of those teams. That's going to be some pretty important moments. Sure, the Giants aren't great, but when you got Kayvon Thibodeau, you got a couple good pieces on that defense that could create some havoc in that division. But that's besides the point. Look at Jayden Daniels. His arm, his accuracy. He had some moments today, good, some bad. He had some high moments, some low moments. I thought it was pretty funny. I overheard somebody comparing it to his career at LSU, and I thought that was a pretty interesting comparison. They said, of course, at LSU, in his first year, it didn't start off as fast as people would have hoped. It didn't start as great as Jayden himself would have hoped. But however, the way it ended almost perfectly. Yeah, you didn't get the national championship, but you get the Heisman. You get the credit. You get to boost up your wide receiver room. You get to help one of the wide receivers become, quite frankly, one of the best wide receivers in LSU history. There's a pretty big legacy that Jayden Daniels leaves behind. Something else I found interesting about this is that there's a potential for this to be one of the greatest pro days in LSU history. And why I say that, everyone's going to wonder about Joe Burrow and that year, but people forget that COVID ended that pro day. There was no Joe Burrow pro day. So Jayden Daniels is potentially in a situation where he has the biggest pro day in LSU history, which would add to, a plethora of things that make his legacy so interesting. You saw Brian Thomas Jr. there with a little bit of a hiccup. I wouldn't say that that's going to be something that ruins Brian's draft stock. Super fast wide receiver. He's got plenty of film all season long after leading the NCAA in receiving touchdowns. I don't think that's going to be something that hurts him here. Check out this look on a little out by Mason Taylor. Shout out Mason Taylor getting some touches in this pro day. He's in a situation similar to Jayden Daniels last year where he gets to test some things out before a potential NFL draft season next year. Look at this look to Malik Neighbors. You've seen this all too many times this year. It's going to make some SEC defenses cringe watching this Jayden Daniels footage. But grading his arm, I think, he didn't have a horrible day. He didn't also have a lights out day. He didn't have a day where, he turned everybody's heads and you walked out of there thinking he's the greatest quarterback in this draft. I could see him going 2. I could see him going 3. I could see, areas where the Commanders or whoever will be in that number 2 spot could potentially see where Drake May has maybe a more accurate arm or maybe a little bit of a stronger arm. I'm not saying that that is the truth. I'm not saying that that is how it is. I can just see a team seeing that based off of their performances. Now, when Jayden opts out of the rushing drills, the running drills, and just quite frankly the entire measurable side of the Combine as well as the pro day, and he's left with just the throwing, this is going to be the risk with that. Whatever taste fans, scouts, coaches, or any spectators have in their mouth is going to pretty much be the final taste that you're left with before Jayden Daniels' draft decision is made by his future NFL team. You see a little bit of an overthrow right there. Now, when a quarterback overthrows a receiver, it's not necessarily the end of the world. At least he didn't underthrow it. At least he can have the arm. Could be a little bit of a hiccup on the receiver side. Maybe the speed wasn't consistent. But all in all, it definitely was a moment that, he's going to want back. I'm not going to end his pro day, though. Take another look at this one. Another little overthrow. Like I said, when Jayden's off the mark, he's off by making it a little long, which is not the worst case scenario. I don't think that a coach is going to look at that and think, geez, this is a project quarterback. I mean, it happens, especially on those deep vertical routes where you're trying to track how fast they're going to go. And some of the wide receivers also have a little bit of their own pressure as well. I mean, let's look at this guy right here, Malik. He could potentially be the first wide receiver taken off the board. And judging by his pro day, definitely deserving of that. Definitely, going to give Marvin Harrison Jr. a run for his money. I think that Malik had a very good testing. I mean, look at his 40-yard dash time. He had a pretty similar time to Brian Thomas Jr. He's tweeting, Malik is tweeting that it was a 4.28. The unofficial time was around the 4.3 range. I mean, either way, that's a lights-out blistering speed. You add that to his vertical, which was pretty insane, if not the second highest wide receiver vertical in the entire draft class. Add that to the broad jump. He did pretty well in on his third try. I think that he's making his case to go up against Marvin. And I think having a quarterback like Jayden Daniels, having the chemistry and being able to perform with him at the pro day, skip the combine, and be able to lean on, your trusted, accurate quarterback, that was something that's pretty beneficial for not only Malik, but for Brian. I don't think that they would have performed the exact same if they're at the combine. Would they have done bad? No, not by any stretch of the imagination, but they're definitely way more comfortable, way more loose, and just put together when they're all on the same page, running routes together, running routes that, quite frankly, they've probably ran all season long, if not for the past 2 years. During the positional drills, you saw Jayden, Brian, Malik, some of the other wide receivers like Kyron Lacey, Mason Taylor, CJ Daniels, they went outside in the outdoor football practice area, and they kind of got loose. They kind of got warmed up, so when they came in, they weren't cold, they weren't all tight, all nervous. And I think it's kind of hard to avoid that because, I mean, you're going to come right back inside, all the cameras there, the crowd's there, and quite frankly, you're the final show. You're the main event. This is the last part of the entire pro day, so all eyes are on you. The moment's there, the pressure definitely rose, and I think Jayden got more comfortable towards the end. I don't think he started lights out. I don't think he started as he would have hoped, but toward the end of it, he started letting them fly, started letting them eat. He kind of, showed off that mobility a little bit, that pocket escape, slinging one to Brian Thomas right here. And Brian Thomas's draft stock has been on an upward crescendo ever since that 40-yard dash. I think a lot of teams are going to have a hard time passing on Brian Thomas Jr. He went from a potential second-round pick to he's locked for first. LSU's got 3 first-rounders, 2 wide receivers, a quarterback, and plenty of defensive talent out there at the pro day. So it's been pretty interesting to watch. It was a good little throwing event. Like we said, I think that Jayden could have definitely hit a couple marks. I'm not going to be the biggest critic because I think a pro day is it's not the end-all be-all for a quarterback. Of course, when you're winning a Heisman Award, when you got a season worth of film as a #1 offense, averaging the most points, and potentially the most yards, it just seems like a no-brainer that this guy is ready to play on Sundays. Will he have some things to work on? Of course. But I mean, that's football. You're not drafting a completely polished quarterback out of college football. More often than not, you're going to draft a guy that potentially has the highest ceiling, that could be a little bit of a project. Ideally not. But I don't think any NFL scout or coach is going to shy away from someone like Jayden Daniels because of a couple missed throws. He's got a very high ceiling. He's a very good kid. Shout out to him giving credit to Greg Brooks, wearing his jersey, keeping Greg Brooks' name at the pro day with Jayden Daniels' character. That's exactly who he is. Brian Kelly said in the presser after the pro day that he's always thinking about other people. He's not just thinking about Jayden Daniels. That's the same player that arrived at LSU. So seeing him on the field perform under the lights with all the cameras, I'd give him, if we're rating him out of 10, I'd give him about an 8, 8.5. I think he did pretty good. I don't think that he, made enough of a case to say he's the best quarterback in the draft. I think time is going to have to tell that one. But I think that he definitely made his case to be the second player taken in the NFL draft, the second quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised to see him slip to third. Either way, though, I think, the Commanders could be one of his better spots. The Patriots might be a little interesting with the rebuild, but hopefully Jayden Daniels goes in a situation that, will benefit him. And you see right here, you can't say he didn't leave the pro day without hitting the roof. He made sure of that at the end. Well, subscribe for more LSU Pro Day coverage. We got some spring football coverage coming for you as well. We got a highlight video of Malik Neighbors, highlight video of Brian Thomas Jr. on the way, as well as other Pro Day coverage coming your way. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching The Verdant Verdict.